Hey everyone, welcome back. I am very excited about today's video because I have wanted to, for a long time, show you all about the different ways that you can do reading. So like we've talked before in videos about like the different types of psychics you can be, like the different ways that you can read, but this is like, how do you actually like perform them? Like you sit down and you do them for other people, yes, but like how do they get delivered? So we're going to talk about all the different ways that you can kind of do readings and give them to people. And so maybe this will give you some ideas. I'm basically going to be going over the pros and cons of each because I basically do them all. And my opinion on why you should do them all. So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Lauren. I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm an animal communicator. On this channel specifically, I help other psychics, other intuitives, no matter what your level, develop your abilities. And part of that is just helping those of you who do readings for other people kind of take your business to the next level, kind of give you some advice, because I just don't see that a whole lot in the online sphere. And today we're going to specifically talk about those little moments of, okay, I want to give readings to people, but what is the best way to read people? And I think often what happens is people jump into what they think they should be doing, and then they quickly hate it and beat themselves up and either stay and push themselves and be in a really uncomfortable position, or they just quit reading altogether, which I've seen so many times. And it can be a little confusing because everybody does readings differently, and unless you get a reading from them, not a lot of people are talking about how they do their readings. Now, this is just my personal experience. I'm definitely not covering everything that's out there. I'm trying to as generically as possible, but you're going to find your own groove and your way of how you like to do things. So take this little advice video and maybe figure out a new way that you could read, or maybe this will just affirm, that you really are doing something that you enjoy. So the first way that you could provide readings for people is electronically. And I'm kind of talking about like emails. So this could be that you record a video of yourself doing the reading and then you email them that recording. You can also record your voice, which is what I do. I do audio emails and then you send them the recording of that email. You can also do like written readings. So you do a reading, maybe you do it and then you write it down, or you automatic write as you're doing it. So let's go into the pros and cons of like what email readings are like. The great thing about email readings is that they can be pretty short. I don't think it's good for like long format stuff. I used to type up my readings, and then I started to realize it took me longer to type it up than to do the actual reading. So I quickly switched into audio recordings, because then it was like as soon as I was done with the reading was done and I could forward it. So it's a lot shorter. That's definitely a pro. It's a lot quicker too. Like you can get to it whenever throughout your day. I really like email readings because there's nobody in front of you to kind of like throw you off. You do the reading on your own time, you take your time, and you're not really like forced to sit down with somebody and really like, I don't know, just have the pressure of them right in front of you. Another great thing about email readings, depending on how you do it, is that you can do it whenever, wherever you want. I can do an emailed audio recording if I'm on vacation if I wanted to. Normally I don't do that, but like you can move around, you can do a lot of things. Some of it obviously might require like computer access, but it's a lot more flexible. Like if you want to lay in your bed because your bed is most comfortable and like a spot that like is most intuitive for you, like then you can do it. The downsides to email readings is one, that the person is not in front of you. So that can cause a few problems. One is that maybe you don't connect with them as well as you should. Maybe you didn't take the time to fully connect to their energy and you might be reading wrong, or maybe you're just like reading somebody next to them or just not fully connecting to their energy. That is going to be variable by person. Maybe some people connect better by not having them in front of them. That's how I am with animals, actually. So not a hard and fast rule. Another downside for email readings is actually for the client. They don't really get to interact with you. So if you like said something that was confusing, or they had like a follow-up question, they don't really get to have that interaction. And because of that, sometimes you can get like unsolicited emails. You can get people wanting to ask follow-up questions, and that can be really annoying because, you know, technically the reading ends when you ended it, and so if they're continuing to ask questions, then you feel the obligation to get back into the reading. And so normally I draw the line there and I'll say something like, you know, I'm not sure, I would have to jump back into the reading to be able to answer that question or something like that. So there definitely is a boundary that I think just people push more with emails, and that's because they don't have that one-on-one feedback. So I also always encourage people, hey, if you want to be able to like have a back and forth with me, check out like the other services that I offer. This for me is like my cheapest option. I do want to have an option out there for those who can't like afford my most like expensive things. So I think email works great because it can be a cheap, fast, quick option for some people. Another thing I would recommend here too is that if you need something more than a name, you can also ask people to send pictures of themselves. That might help you connect a little bit more. The next type of reading you can do are readings over the phone. I would say, well, in my opinion, this one is most common, but that just might be the circle of people that I'm in. And phone readings are great because you can do them anytime, anywhere. Also, another good thing, you don't have to see each other's faces. You don't have to get dressed up if you don't want to. But I think having the added person on the other end of the line where you can both hear them and feel their energy more, it just helps you connect to them and give a better reading, in my opinion. So again, with phone readings, you can be wherever you want to be. You can get more comfortable with your readings because of that. And I think it's more fun for clients because they get the back and forth with you. And maybe they're also camera shy or something and they don't really want to get in front of you in person. I think this is a great option because it makes you very like accessible. And I think it makes the reading better because you're able to connect a little bit more. The downside to the phone readings, and this is a downside to all the following readings that I'm going to talk about, is that you're doing it real time. You actually have to connect with the person real time. You have the reading right then. You start the reading, you've got a timer set because usually people charge by like the time. And that's the bad thing is that, you know, if you get stuck, you can't like get up and stop the reading, you know. You can absolutely, and you can say that, but there's a little bit of an added pressure, and when you are beginning, it can be scary to do something in real time. I am planning on making a video in the future of how to get more confidence reading people in person, so keep an eye out for that. Subscribe if you haven't already. Now, the next option that you can also provide your clients is doing a video call. So this is like, you know, getting on Google Meets, getting on Zoom, Skype, like whatever your preferred platform is, and doing the reading so you can actually see and hear each other. I think the great thing about this, you're seeing them. You're not only hearing them, you're seeing them. So it's almost as if you are in person. So I think this is a great way to connect with their energy and really make sure you're reading the right person. You're also able to like see how they react to things. So, you know, you can dive further into it if you can tell they're uncomfortable or it like brought up something that, you know, I don't know. You can just, there's a lot more you can do when you're looking at someone, you know? Video calls can be a lot more confining. You can't just like get up and wander if you need to or let your eyes wander. The reason why I dislike them the most is that I've got to get dressed for them. And I like being comfortable. I don't like looking nice all the time. That's a downside for me, but I also think it's like a good thing because it forces me to get up and get dressed for the day, even when all I'm doing is like working from home that day. So I don't think it's a total downside. But if you feel uncomfortable being on camera, you know, that might add another thing that you kind of have to work through as you're trying to give readings to other people. So, you know, if you're too uncomfortable for any of these things, I don't think you should push it to make yourself so uncomfortable that you can't give a good reading. However, if you're flexible and you're willing to push yourself, I think it's a good thing to try because you might experience some things that you might not have experienced, you know, in a phone reading or in an email reading. I also think your background can kind of influence the reading because people just judge that, you know, if they look at your background or like the quality of your video and they're just like, ugh, you know, like I think people will judge you, unfortunately, on that. And then the last downside to video calls, I think, is connectivity issues. You know, if you don't have the best internet or if they don't have the best internet, sometimes the call is dropped and that can really interfere with reading. So that's an easy fix up front if you can tell them, hey, like, you know, make sure you've got good internet connection, blah, blah, blah. But you can't always control that. So if that really like throws you off, maybe it's not the best option. However, the majority of the time, I would say 90% of the time, I don't have issues. And if we really do have issues, I do have a backup. Like I will just get on my phone and do the video reading that way. Or if they're comfortable just jumping on the actual phone, we might finish it that way. That's only happened like once or twice. And it's usually because my like computer overheated or something. But that is something you have to keep in mind. Now, the next type of readings are in-person readings. And honestly, these ones scare me the most, but they are my favorite to do. And I think that's because I started this way when I went to the Aspen program. It was an in-person class. It was not an online course. I went in and met with people every weekend for probably about a year. And I would read to people every single weekend. We would be in front of each other across the table. We'd go out into the hallway. Like we would be constantly reading each other in person. And so I am a pretty big believer that doing it in person can really grow your abilities and really make you stronger as a psychic because it brings a whole new set of challenges. However, it can be really scary to do in person. I will not deny that. And it still freaks me out to this day. But I have to remind myself like ahead of time, I've got this, my ability is good, I trust in myself. So there's a little bit more of a fear there because you're literally in front of the person. You can't hide from them. You can't escape, you know, even on like video calls or phone calls, there's still this element of feeling like you could get away if you need to, but you know, and I don't want this to become like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I do think it's important to acknowledge because it can be a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes. So kind of like I said before, this is a real-time thing, and that can be a downside if you don't know how to remove blocks in the moment, if you don't, you know, have that confidence in your ability yet to fill the whole time, you know, doing a reading. So you can start small. You can do short, quick readings and then kind of work your way up. We'll get to that in the next way you can offer readings. But the other downsides are like travel. You know, are they coming to you? Are you going to them? I used to have people come to my house, but the more, you know, public I get online, the more I want to be safe, especially because there was one time that somebody found my address and sent me something in the mail and it really like freaked me out. I have a family, you know, I have a son. I don't want people to know where I live. You know, I want to keep that safe. If it's somebody that I've read before and I really trust them, they're welcome to come to my house. Like I read my aunt and my grandma at my house, like totally fine. Sometimes if people are from out of town, I'm kind of like, okay, that's probably fine. They're not gonna like, I don't know. There's a weird line there. That's a downside. You have to figure that out. So some people might want to meet at like a third party location, like a coffee shop or something. I tried that and I didn't like it because I didn't like, you know, just how loud places could be or how quiet they could be. I didn't like people like listening to my every word. You know, they might not have been, but that's how I saw it. Or that's how I felt, I should say. So normally if people want to do in person, I say, hey, I'm going to your house. There's still an issue there. Cause like, what if they murder me while I'm at their house? You know, like there's always an issue with this. So just figure it out up front to where you feel comfortable. Sometimes like bringing your partner along too, to like make sure you get in and out okay. Like that's totally fine. I mean, I would honestly just, you know, be careful, have backups. I really should have like a thing of mace with me. Like I feel like every woman should have that. Every person should have that really. I mean, you take that risk anytime that you go out. It has nothing to really do with the reading. You're going out into a public and, you know, that's just what happens. So that is a downside. However, I've never really had a problem with it. I only had one time out of the many, many, many times I've done readings where someone followed me to my car. I felt like it was creepy. It might have been very well intentioned, but I think because it was a man, I was like, ugh. And they were like, well, this area is a bad area. And it was like one of the richest neighborhoods in the state. And I was just like, this is weird. Anyways, so with being in person too, like there is a little bit of invasion of your privacy if they do come to your house. That can like make it a little uncomfortable. But also if you go somewhere else, a lot of times you don't have control over their environment. Some people, like if you go over to their homes, they'll be more than like accommodating. I've had people like make me like fruit plates and turn out the lights and like do all sorts of things, and they're so sweet. But sometimes you'll be in an area that you can't control. Maybe there's dogs barking, maybe there's family members in the house. So, you know, anything you can do up front to kind of tell people, hey, like this is would make it like the best for me, like feel free to do that if it's going to help you. I know I've talked a lot about the negatives with this, but the pros of this, I think being in person with somebody else, it forces you to be a better psychic because you're in person. I don't know how else to describe it other than they're there right in front of you. I think it can help you connect more because they're right there in front of you. I do think it feels like a more authentic connection that way. You're also not dealing with like technology issues or like, you know, trying to like call each other or FaceTime each other. It just makes things a lot easier. And I think the beautiful thing about being in person is that you really have to know how to remove blocks in the moment and really like switch gears and get yourself out of a rut. You know, if you're not getting anything, if you started to get something wrong, I think that if you can do that in person, then all the other types of readings feel so much easier because you know you can do this, you know? And to get that validation, to get the feedback real time in person too, it feels like you're doing, I think to me what it is it feels like I'm doing a real psychic reading, but I think that's because that's the way I was trained to do it, and I feel like it's just the right way to do it. So I do think this is subjective. It is my opinion, but I really do think that it pushes you to challenge yourself when you are reading these people in person. So the next way you can provide readings is by doing events. So these are in-person events. And the difference with these is that usually they're a lot shorter and you see a lot more people. So these could be psychic fairs. They could also be Halloween parties, bachelorette parties, Christmas parties even. And basically what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I'm going to set up, provide readings for people. They're going to be quick, like short readings, 5-10 minutes maybe. And you're going to see a lot of people over a longer amount of time is usually what it is. Now, I absolutely love doing events because it gives you lots of practice with lots of different types of people. You're not sitting with one person for like 2 hours or something. That's a long reading, like an hour. But you're doing a lot of little people for a lot of little short chunks of time. Let me start that again. You're doing a lot of readings for a lot of people. And I actually think this might be a good way to get into reading people for a longer, like an hour session. Because basically you can kind of end the reading if you're feeling like you're stuck or you're uncomfortable. You can do 5 minutes and kind of have them walk away and just restart and refresh with the next person. I also think it's fantastic because you are forcing yourself to be in a lot of different situations. Like each of these people are going to give you a completely different reading. So it gives you a lot of practice. Like instead of having 6 readings over the course of a month, you're getting 10 readings in like an hour, if that makes sense. So you're coming across lots of different things that you can be like, oh, okay, I can do that better next time. Or, oh, you know, next time I'm going to remember to say this up front. Next time I'm going to do this. It gives you a lot of practice so you can hone your abilities, also hone like your services. And I just love doing events because every event, there's always something new to surprise me, not in a bad way, but it just has me walking away reminding myself about so many different things. Oh yeah, I need to improve my psychic ability that way. Or like literally sometimes I'll leave being like, man, I feel like I really helped somebody today. And that was such a good reminder of like why I love doing this. I think the variety in itself will just make you a better, well-rounded psychic. The cons, again, you are in person, you are real time. Sometimes doing shorter readings can be more difficult because you can't really like sit with a person for a long amount of time. I struggle because sometimes it feels like we're just grazing the surface and never going deeper than that. And I have to remind myself that that's okay. Like that's just the way the readings are in this type of situation. Again, you definitely might have less control of the environment, also of the audience. You know, when you're going, usually the person in charge of the event is hiring you, but that doesn't mean everyone there at the party, you know, is into psychics, is going to sit down. Sometimes they are not into psychics and they'll sit down to, you know, cause problems. And that's definitely like something that happens and you have to be prepared for that. Like versus, you know, the one-on-one readings, obviously that person wants to meet up with you in person. They're not like gonna sit there and be like, I don't believe in psychics, you know? But at events, you will get that. So there's a little bit less control over the types of people that are there. Again, the environment. Sometimes I will be put in rooms next to a band and I'm like screaming over the band. Or like it'll be like really hot or really dark or something. I try to like step in and control that as much as I can. A lot of that I do up front. I try to ask people to like give me a quiet space. I try to put that in my disclaimer so I can kind of control that up front. But even when I do that, sometimes people just miss it or they just don't respect it. And so in that moment, you might have the additional challenge of it being a little bit darker than you would like it to be. You know what I mean? So there's definitely those challenges there. Another downside to reading at events is sometimes they do cost money to like be there. I know that the like Body Mind Spirit expo that's here in Denver, I know you have to like pay up front. I have heard that people make their money back like 3 times the amount sometimes. I mean, probably depending on the person. So actually, well, I did hear that from 2 different people. So the bad thing is you do have to have upfront money for some of that. However, I use like Gig Salad, and that gets me in touch with like people specifically throwing the parties. The fairs might be a different story. Some places too, like if you want to go read at an event at a metaphysical store, they sometimes require you to like be a part of the store, like rent space from the store to even like read in those places. So it's all variable. Everyone has their own rules. It's best to just not assume and go in and ask. I never had the upfront money to pay for a booth at the metaphysical fair here in Denver. I wanted to do it. I'm kind of glad I didn't. I just don't, it was like too many psychics. I think I would have felt like I was in competition with everyone. I kind of like it when I'm just going to a party and it's just like me there. That's another downside to the events. Sometimes people will book 2 psychics, and normally that's like totally fine, but sometimes you can get other psychics that are really just like confrontational, rude, questioning your practices, usually the men. Not judging the men out there, but come on guys, like let's step up. Not everything is a competition. There will be people for you and there will be people that will resonate with other people. That's how it works. Another positive thing though about the events is that you come across people who maybe have never seen a psychic before. Maybe they have a really good experience with you and therefore they're more likely to come see you in the future. A lot of people, a lot of new clients that I get tend to actually come from these events. Like I'll read them for 5 minutes, they'll take my card, and then they'll book like a full hour session with me. So it's a great way to grow like your client base, get in front of a lot of people, especially if you want to do this like full time. I really think it can be helpful for meeting new clients. You know, I am forgetting too to mention, like you can host events, you can put on events at local metaphysical stores in your home. You can put on events virtually. Downsides to that is like, again, you have to have enough people to sign up in the first place. However, if you can fill the space, a lot of people will be more than happy to like host you. So like when I first started, I tried to get a spirit circle together. I think 3 people showed up, one of those people being my friends. And like literally last week or so, I put on another spirit circle virtually for the Halloween season. I filled it up probably in like a week or so. So I definitely was not at a point where I could do that. That might have to be something that you do later down the line. But I do think that that's good because you can kind of control that audience a little bit more. They all know you, they all know what they're showing up for. And so the energy is just better. The last way you can provide readings are through the psychic websites that are out there. I don't know what they would be called, but these are like the websites that you go and you kind of join them. I think you're a freelancer, like I think you have to like fill out a W-9, and basically you get put on their platform amongst thousands, hundreds of other psychics. and people will go to their website, find the psychic that they're most interested in, and then they usually, like, I think they pay per minute. It's different based on the website. And so I have not done those websites. I highly recommend you don't do them, to be 100% honest. And here's why. I think that those websites take advantage of psychics. I have yet, I mean, please prove me wrong, but I have yet to see a website that hosts psychics where they take care of their psychics. I feel like they severely underpay them. Like, they always say you have room for growth. I have checked them out before, but it was always like, I told them, well, this is what I normally charge. Would you be okay with me charging that on your platform? And they were like, no, you get like 2/3 less. And I was like, well, why would I do that? You know, I'm already making the X amount of money over here. They sought me out. So one, I don't think they pay their psychics fairly, and they take a huge cut. Another downside is sometimes you have to be on call. So you can set those hours on a lot of those websites. It was like, oh, okay, I'll be available between 1 and 5. But you basically have to be ready at any moment within that time for somebody to want to reach out to you for a reading. I don't think that's bad. However, it can, like, it kind of takes up your time and you don't have a lot of free space. You're just always on call, and that can be a little bit, that some people just don't like that. They also don't vet people. Like, literally, they didn't even want me to show any examples. They were just like, yeah, we'll hire you. You said you're a psychic. Sure, come on in. So I'm questioning how many people on their website are actually psychic. You know what I mean? Like, obviously everyone is psychic. I know that's like my whole shtick, but you know, there's no like credibility. I've also like read into their websites, and it's very clear, like, they put the client over the psychic every single time. They say stuff like, if you are unhappy with your reading, we will do XYZ, we'll give you your money back. Like, and I've seen them advertise too on like, we will guarantee tell you like how much money you're gonna make. We will guarantee tell you who the next person is you're gonna marry. They are preying on the people that are desperate. I think that the whole intention behind those companies, again, is to make money, prey on the desperate, not take care of their psychics. That's my opinion. If you have worked for those, please tell me your experience, especially if it's a good one. I have just never seen it as a good option for psychics. Great for people who want a reading, cheap, fast, easy. You could switch psychics if you don't like it, but get your money back if you don't like it. There's just a whole lot of bad ethics going on right there that I think can really put psychics in a bad light, can teach clients bad manners, bad habits with going and seeing psychics. You know, their expectations are extremely high. I also think that the downside of this, it's very review based. So if you get good reviews and good reviews, then you get more and more recommended. That's how they like raise your prices, some of them. And so it makes your intention is to get better reviews, not give this person the best possible, you know, reading that you could give them. It's, oh, I need to make them happy so I can get a good review. So if you're going in with that intention, I do think it'll affect your readings. The only two things that I think is good about these websites is, one, the work is found for you. You don't have to market yourself. You don't have to set up social media. You don't have to go like client to client in person. Like, they will find the clients for you, supposedly. And that is good, because if you don't have anybody who knows about you, that'll help you get practice. It'll help you get paid right from the start. I do think that that is a really good, helpful like tool. However, I think websites like Etsy or Fiverr are almost just as good, and you can set your own prices. I think the other good thing about it too is just practice. You'll get a lot of practice because there will be a lot of people, a lot of readings. And so those are the only upsides. I would highly encourage you all not to go into those businesses. Again, I've looked at them all. I've thought about getting into them myself. Just the ethics there, they're not going to take care of you, in my personal opinion. It makes me sad when other psychics are out there collaborating with those types of people, because I really think they do take advantage of psychics. And I really, really want to advocate for you all and make sure that you are taken care of as a psychic, that you're getting paid well, that you are getting treated well, you know? And I think that those companies just unfortunately don't do that. To my knowledge and my expertise, I really look forward to the day where one of them comes out and, you know, they're really taking care of their psychics, they're vetting their psychics, or some sort of like test or something in order to get into it. They don't just like hire anybody with absolutely no credentials. Okay, off my soapbox, sorry. So I know we kind of went into all of these briefly. If you want to check out my masterclass course, that is going to have a lot more information on like how to navigate all of these different types of readings and the ways you can read and how you can set up your business, how to charge people, like going into the weeds with like disclaimers and payments, all of that good stuff. So check that out if you're really serious about reading for other people, making this your full-time job. Also, if you have more questions, remember that I do have a Patreon. I do monthly coaching Q&As, so I answer literally any question that you might have. So if you are a psychic that likes to practice and wants to just have a community and just get that feedback every month, we are here for you. Alrighty, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you do, if you do any of these types of readings, if you want to grow into any of them. Remember to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. Bye.